All right, Shalom Akim, Shalom Yasharallah. First off, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. This is a brother Izar. I'm going to be going into, marriage in Scripture, because people have, questions about marriage in Scripture, and I looked it up, and this is the polygamy question. It says, and I read this article, and for the most part, it's pretty good, But it says, the first and most forceful objection most people raise in the matter of polygamy: doesn't the Old Testament allow men to take multiple wives? Or even if it doesn't outright condone it as proper, doesn't it at least describe it as a marriage? Doesn't that show that the Bible was willing to accept polygamy as, even if not a moral idea, still being a legitimate expression of marriage? Doesn't that mean that the Bible allows for more than one definition of marriage? All right, and this person, basically went into the patriarch, which is in Genesis 32 and 32, and it's actually on 22. But here it says in Jacob, verse 1, and Jacob went his way, and the angels of the Most High met him. All right, so it's talking about Jacob. So when we jump down to verse 22, it says, and he rose up at night and took his 2 wives and his 2 woman servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. All right, so it's talking about Jacob, who is a righteous man, chosen over Esau, Edom, who was the wicked. All right, and it's a foreshadow of Cain and Abel, Cain being Esau and Abel being Jacob, which later came back as Seth. All right, it says all of the moral consideration involved in polygamy, why is it wrong, or why it is wrong, and yet why the Bible frequently described it occurring even among the heroes of the Old Testament, are important and necessary. They do not, however, involve a discussion of different definitions of marriage. All right, because there isn't no, different definitions of marriage. It's a man and a woman coming together, and then that's it, man. It says involve a discussion of a different definition of marriage. While at first glance, polygamy seems to deny outright the idea that marriage is between one man and one woman, the fact is that even Old Testament polygamy assumes this definition to be true. You see? And Elder Tahar just made a video about people being, emotional arguments and, what is that word? Basically using arguments with facts and reason, So there's 2 different types of arguments, and people's arguments when it comes to Scripture tends to be more about feelings, It's not about facts. It's not about what the Scripture says. It's basically just what they feel, how they feel inside. Well, I feel like a man having 2 women is not right. All right, but they don't know the Scriptures, which I'm gonna get into. It says Jacob may have married both Leah and Rachel, but Leah and Rachel were not married to each other. So it's not polygamy, you see? Because when you look at polygamy, it says the practice or condition of having more than one spouse, especially wife. So that means that the wife can have more than one husband and things of that nature. All right? But this isn't polygamy, man. It's polygyny.
Polygyny.
All right. Polygyny, it says the practice or condition of having more than one wife at one time. All right. So the Scriptures are not about polygamy, because it's not about women having more than one spouses as well. All right. It was always about the men spreading the seed. It's not about pleasure, which pleasure does come from it, but it wasn't necessarily just about pleasure. It's about spreading the seed. All right. So it says the practice or condition of having more than one wife at one time. All right. Which is lawful. All right. You can do that, but you cannot have more than one husband. All right. That's polygamy. Polygyny means the practice or condition of having more than one wife at one time. All right. It says, but rather man entering into more than one separate marriage at the same time, you see? And that's polygyny. It says Jacob had one marriage with Rachel and another marriage with Leah, and each of these marriages was between one man and one woman. You see, that's what it means, man. It's beautiful. The sin of polygamy is not one of definition, but of application. All right. It says a man should not enter into more than one marriage at the same time. You see? So a man can't go into a woman that's already taken. You see? Because she's already married. It says, but even the men who did so understood that they were in more than one marriage. None of them thought that they and all their wives were all married to each other in one big convoluted marriage. So even in the sin of polygamy, we still see the same definition of marriage assumed, all right, which is not polygamy. Again, that's where this person went off. This person went off because they said it's polygamy. It's not polygamy, because the women in Israel were not married to other men, all right? That's a sin. You see, a man was not married to another woman that was taken. You know, it was a man married to women that belonged to him, you know. It says the Levitical law requires marriage in a variety of scenarios that seem unusual and often quite distasteful to people today. All right, so we'll go back to that one. All right, so that's the difference between polygamy and polygyny. All right, polygamy means a spouse can have more than one spouse, so either male or female. All right, but polygyny is where the male has more than one wives, which is what the Israelites did back then. All right. So this is Genesis 32 and verse 22. And he rose up that night and took his two wives and his two woman servants. All right. So Jacob slept with 4 different women. You see, that's polygyny, not polygamy. You see, and passed over the ford Jabbok. All right. So he had sons from those women. All right. From those 4 women, he had sons. You see, and everything was okay. Everything was good. It wasn't a sin. Now, it would have been a sin if Jacob and Esau shared women. That's a sin. You see, you can't do that. You know, so this is the book of Deuteronomy 21. And if it was a sin, all right, Rachel and Leah's father, he would have stopped it, man. You know, he would have stopped Jacob from marrying, you know, both of his daughters. If anything, he would have gave up his second daughter, all right, breaking the traditions of men, all right. He would have broken the tradition of men in order for Jacob not to sin and for his daughters not to sin and for him not to sin, because he would have been sinning too, you know. So this is Deuteronomy 21 and verse 15. It says, if a man have 2 wives, one beloved, all right, if a man have 2 wives, this is the book of Deuteronomy, man. All right. So you have laws that are in the book of Deuteronomy. You have the book of Leviticus, all right, which has laws in it. You know, you had the book of Exodus, which also had laws in it. You see, it says if a man have 2 wives, so that's lawful to have 2 wives, 2 or more wives. It's lawful, as long as those women have not been taken by other men. And if they were, all right, if they were taken by other men, you know, which I'll get into the brother thing, you know, the man has to be dead, you know, because if you divorce a woman, really what's supposed to happen is that woman is supposed to separate herself, all right, and she's not supposed to be with another man. And then later down the line, if you guys want to reconciliate, you can, you know. But like Yahweh Shai said, for your sake, that's why Moses had written down that law of divorce. Otherwise, there wouldn't be divorce, man. You know, everything would be right, you know, and that's how the kingdom of heaven is going to be. It says, if a man have 2 wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be of hers that was hated, then it shall be when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the sons of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. You see? So if you have two women, all right, say one of them gets on your nerves and the other one doesn't. You love the other one, all right? And you have children from both of them, but the one that you hated, all right, the one that gets on your nerves, that's the one that gave you the firstborn, and then the other one gave you the second son. When it comes down to inheritance, you can't put it down to the one that you loved just because you loved her. All right? It goes down to the firstborn, which is your firstborn. All right? It says, but he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn. You see? By giving him a double portion of all that he hath, for he is the beginning of his strength, and the right of the firstborn is his. You see? So the right of the firstborn is his. Now through the Spirit, all right, through the Spirit and power, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, you had Jacob come in second, all right, which is prophecy, Jacob came in second, and Jacob is going to inherit the kingdom after Esau. It's all, what does Apostle Paul say? All things are allegories, Well, that's a form of it, It literally happened, but it's a form of it. Because Jacob is going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, which comes after the kingdom of Esau, which is currently Babylon the Great here in America, through the beast, the EU, and NATO. That all belongs to Esau, Edom. The seven heads are all the kingdoms of Esau, Edom. It says, rebellious son. All right, that's it on that one. Ends up in verse 17. But now it says the Levitical law requires marriage in a variety of scenarios that seem unusual and often quite distasteful to people today. All right. So nowadays, people are so emotional about their feelings and about what they feel, and they want to be selfish. You have a woman and she wants to be selfish because she doesn't want anybody else taking, what she deems as her belongings. All right. So if she sees a man and says that this is my man, she's not going to be like, okay, you can have him too. But you have you have Jake's side piece that understands, okay, you're married. All right. I'm still yours, but you're married. And that's really how it should be, But it says, there are situations which our society would not expect the people involved to marry. But do these examples constitute a different definition of marriage? The most common example of that of levitate marriage, when brothers live together. All right, this is the book of Deuteronomy. It said, when brothers live together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a strange man. And that's what happened in the book of Ruth. All right, you have the book of Ruth that talks about Naomi, all right, and Ruth. And the story really follows along with Naomi and Ruth, all right? But the whole time, the story was not about Naomi or Ruth, all right? It was about the seed line of David, you see? So it was Obed, and from Obed it went down, and you had Boaz, or I believe you had Boaz, and then Obed, and then Jesse, and then you had David, and then Solomon, But it was all about, the custom, not the custom, but the law that the female had to stay within the family. Now, again, in the kingdom of heaven, we're not going to have that because Israel is not going to be dying all the time. All right. So that's why Yahweh told those Pharisees and scribes, ye do err not knowing the scriptures, because they were trying to catch him in a snare. They were trying to catch Yahweh messing up, slipping. And Yahweh was like, man, these, imagining vain things, man, So that's why he would say certain parables and people would just stay shut and say, well, I don't know what the hell that means, but it sounds good. So they would stay shut, But it says, when brothers live together and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a strange man. All right. So say you have a brother, say he's maybe 2-3 years younger than you, and you have your wife, and you've been with your wife for 10 years and you could never conceive, and she could never conceive seed. She could never bear a child that was yours. So what happened? If you died, all right, your brother would take over. And when your brother would take over, he would marry that woman. All right. So that woman would belong to your brother after your death, you know, and then say he couldn't conceive seed. Then it would go down to the next one, you know. And that just goes to show that the woman isn't anything much but, booty, which means, like your treasure, your spoil. All right. Now, that doesn't mean you got to go over there and treat them like shit. All right, you're going off if you treat your woman like shit. You got to give your wife the due reverence. But I forgot what the word is. But, you got to give respect where it's due, basically, So that doesn't mean go over there and mistreat your wife and go pass her around. That's going off, man, But that's why these laws were set up, man. All right. That way there wouldn't be any question in Israel. Well, it doesn't say anything in the book of the law, so I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. Let all things be done in decency and in order. You see, and that's why the Most High Yahweh, he exists, and he is to be, because he thought up of everything, man. He thought of everything. And nowadays people get offended. You have cherry love that gets offended when the apostles, the elders, bring up certain things about sex. They get offended. Vocab Malone gets offended. You had Polite at one time get offended, but it's because they don't know the scriptures, man. And Polite came back and he was like, you know what? Yeah, that is what the Bible's saying. Granted, he doesn't believe in the Bible, but he agreed that is what the Bible was saying, because it's in black and white, man. It doesn't take somebody, it doesn't take some scientist to, read the scripture and go read between the lines, or no, it's right there, and that's why you have prophets. That's why you have the apostles, starting from El Tahar on down. That's why you have elders in camps. That's why you have prophets and brothers that are out there teaching this truth, man, to clarify these things. You see? So it says, her husband's brothers shall go in unto her, all right, shall go into her and take her to himself as wife and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her, which is what? Have sex with her. He's supposed to, all right, my brother passed away, all right, you might give it a little bit of time, to mourn, but then eventually she's already promised to the brother. You see? She's promised to that brother. So when it comes to that, brother takes her and takes the brother's duty. He does the brother's duty, which is what? To lie down with his brother's, his deceased brother's wife. All right? And so she can conceive seed. You see? For the brother. It says, it shall be that the firstborn whom she bears shall assume the name of his dead brother. All right. So say you have a brother, again, back to the scenario. All right. You've been with your wife for 10 years, whatever. You pass away. Then she's passed down to your younger brother. All right. And if you don't have any younger brothers, and it's passed down within the family, say to a cousin, and that was the story of Ruth and Naomi, and that's why the baby was given to Naomi for her dead son that was married to Ruth. You see, the scriptures are not difficult, man, but like the book of Proverbs says, these things are going to be made clear to the just, to the righteous, It says, the firstborn whom she shall bear shall assume the name of his dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. So back to the scenario. Say your brother sleeps with your wife after you passed away. All right. So she was given to him, and she conceived seed from your brother. Really, that child belongs to you. You see? So that child really belongs to you. So that child, say his name is John Doe, all right? John Doe is going to take in your last name. You see? Your name. Nowadays you have the last names Perez, Garcia, White. You have these last names and they all take after the father, right? It's not really after the mother. Nowadays in this wicked society, you can take the name of the mother, but the name of the mother goes back to what? Her father. All right? But so that child that she bears through your brother after your death, all right, would actually be your child, even though you didn't, have that child. You see, that's how things work, man. That's how things would work in Israel, so that your name, for your name's sake, it wouldn't be blotted out. It says, but if the man does not desire to take his brother's wife, then his brother's wife shall go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to establish a name for his brother in Israel. He is not willing to perform the duty of a husband's brother to me, which is what? Sleep with her. Then the elder of his city shall summon him and speak to him, and if he persist and say, I do not desire to take her, then his brother's wife shall come to him in the sight of the elders and put his sandals off his foot and spit in his face. And she shall declare, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. In Israel his name shall be called the house of him whose sandal is removed. You see, and that's what happened in that scenario where, what was it? It was a Judite, I believe. All right. He was supposed to go in unto a woman. All right. Because his brother died and he ended up pulling out. All right. He ended up pulling out. And what happened? I think it was Judah, actually. But he ended up pulling out. And guess what? He got punished for that. All right. He spilled the seed on the floor. He pulled out, So he got punished for that. So that doesn't mean that pulling out is a sin. All right. It's saying, he had to perform the duty of a brother. You see? And that's in the book of Deuteronomy also, So let me go to the book of Deuteronomy 22. And I'm going to start off from 13. All right. Because people are so sensitive with the scriptures, man. But that's also prophecy. People would be sensitive, It says, Deuteronomy 22 and 13. If any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her and give occasion of speech against her and bring up an evil name upon her and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid, which means what? He found her not that she was a virgin. All right. That's why you had Joseph and Mary, where Joseph didn't know if that was really his son that Mary had in her womb. Why? Because they didn't lay down traditionally. You're supposed to have this blanket. All right. You lay down with the woman. And when you lay down with the woman, you finalize a covenant through blood. All right. So that blood, which, nowadays you call it a cherry or, this and that, popping a woman's cherry, a cherry is what? Red. All right. So when you go in unto a woman that was a virgin, all right, which the word for virgin is bathwala, all right, which means a woman not touched by man. And the word ilama, which is what you find in Isaiah 14, Isaiah 7 and 14. That word there is ilama, which shows that it's just a young woman of marriageable age. All right, because Mary was not a virgin in the sense of her not knowing any man, because she knew Joseph, you see. But when the angel came down and talked with Mary and prophesied unto Mary, she was like, I haven't been with a man. Why? Because that was before it happened, But anyways, going back to Deuteronomy 22. So if the man gives a evil speech against a woman that he married, which nowadays you don't have anything for that. All right. Nowadays, you just have, all right, you deal with it, or you deal with it. And if you don't like it, then you get a divorce. You know, that's how people handle it nowadays. But back then, you had something for that, which goes to show how Esau Edom pretends to be the Most High, but he never will be. All right. Nobody will ever be above the Most High, because the Most High has everything planned out for every occasion. It says, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders in the city of the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elder, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hated her. You see? And lo, he hath given occasion of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth, you see, spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And what's going to be found there? Blood. All right? Blood is going to be found there because that woman was a virgin. It says, the elders of the city shall take the man and chastise him. All right? Nowadays, if you have, a man that's shaming his wife, this woman was, a little bitch, a little hoe, this and that, and shaming her, everybody's going to look at her shamefully. And where's the proof? Where's the proof? Or say she wasn't. Say she wasn't a virgin, and she says she was a virgin the whole time. All right? This man's going to be like, yo, what the fuck? But what can you do? You can't do anything. Can't get your money back. All contrary. If you get a divorce, you're going to get money taken away from you when she was the one at fault. That's why these things were laid down, man. You see? So Vocab Malone, Cherry Love, and all these people, they're so sensitive about these things, not realizing that these things are set up for a reason. Again, in the kingdom of heaven, everything is going to be perfect. All right? The laws are going to be in our inward parts, and Israel's going to be living forever, man. So you're not going to have, one of the 144 elect men, die off, and he has to pass her on to his brother. That's not going to happen. It says, and the elders of the city shall take that man and chastise him. All right. So if you're speaking bad about your woman, when the whole time she was a virgin and she was for you, all right, but you just hated her and you were speaking shit about her, all right, you're going to be chastised, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver and give them unto the father of the damsel. All right. Because you try to shame the father, and because you try to shame his name, which was through his daughter, all right, you're going to have to pay back, It says, because he had brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife, he may not put her away all his days. You see? So that was a law. If you hated your wife and you talk shit about your wife and you went and you try to shame her father, then guess what? If you were found guilty of speaking against somebody without any proof, all right, and actually having proof against you, then you had to go to the father and pay him money for trying to shame him. And you couldn't put away your wife for the rest of your life. You see? No divorce for you. It says, but this thing be true. It says, but this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel. All right, so now it's switching it up. All right, if you did shame him and shame her for not being a virgin, all right, and it be found to be true that she was not a virgin, it says, then they shall bring out the damsel of the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die. So why? Why would they do that? All right, because that's adultery. That means she was taken by another man, and then she got sent off and married to another man. You see? That's breaking the law of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. You see that? So adultery comes from him. So from what? Salakia. Adultery comes from a woman. You see? It's of a woman. So a man can look at a young woman that's not married. He can look at her and say, damn, she looks good, And if you want to take her and she wants you to take her, then you can. But if she's married and she wants you to take her and you do take her, then that is adultery. You're sinning. You see? And that's why Vocab Malone and all these other Christians and these sensitive ass, religious folk, that's why they can't get the scriptures, man. It says, and she shall die. All right, so you're gonna get stoned to death. All right, if you're not a virgin and you're given into marriage. You see? It says, because she hath wrought folly in Israel, to play the whore in her father's house, so shalt thou put evil away from among you. You see? So the Most High hates evil, man. Like it says in the book of Proverbs, the sacrifice of a wicked is an abomination unto the Most High, but the prayer of the just is his delight. He delights in the prayer of the just, but not in the prayer of a wicked man. And like it says in the book of John, he doesn't listen to sinners. All right. It says, if a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband. All right. Now check this out. Now it's telling you about a man sleeping with another man's wife. It says, then shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. You see? So you're both at fault. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. All right. And Israel was a people before Israel was a place. So that applies to now. Even if we're here in Babylon the Great, America, even if we live in Mexico, even if we live anywhere in the world, if you're an Israelite, this applies to you. You see? It says, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, all right, so if she's promised, say you guys are dating, all right, you two are together and you're already planning on getting married and having kids and having a life. All right. And a man find her in the city and lie with her. So say you're out there in the streets, you're going to go get some groceries. And this man looks at you and he wants you and he lusts after you. And he grabs you and he takes you, which means what? Rape. All right. Then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of the city, and ye shall stone them with the stones that they die. All right. Now, why did they say that? All right. And it's going to explain to you. It's going to explain to you why it's going to say that. It says the damsel because she cried not. All right. So if you're a woman that's getting ready to be married, or you want to be married to this man that you're with, that you're dating. All right. And this other man looks at you and he takes you and you don't scream, but you take it. All right. You take whatever type of abuse he's giving you. It says, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife, so thou shalt put away evil from among you. You see? So if you're a woman, and you got taken by another man, and you were perfectly fine with it, all right, you didn't complain or anything. There was this movie, man, I forgot what it's called, all right, but it's these construction workers building stuff for this author, and he has a wife, all right. He has a wife, and he sees the construction workers outside of her house all the time, and they're out there without shirts and shit, And in one of the times, she does certain things to like tease the men, and in one of the times she opens the bathroom window and she has no shirt on and no bra, all right, and everybody's just looking at her, and she stares at them, and then she closes the window and she takes a shower, all right. Well, eventually, this man, all right, that was the lead for the construction workers, he goes into the house, and she looks at him and she asks him, what are you doing here? All right. And he tells her nothing. He just grabs her, starts, kissing on her and stuff. And then he sleeps with her. And she didn't cry the whole time. She that's what she wanted. And that's what she got, So both of them were at wrong. And then after that, he turned around and he started smoking a cigarette, all right? And as she was getting up, the other men, the other construction workers, they were in the house, and they grabbed her, and they all had their peace with her. And then she started crying out, But in that scenario, all of them would be put to death. The only one that would still be alive was the author, the writer, which he wasn't home at that time. But that just, that's just an example. You have to put away the evil from among you. It says, but if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her, all right, so he has to hold her down, you know, he has to find a way for him to get what he wants and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. All right. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. You see, there was no sin in her worthy of death. It's still a sin, all right, but it wasn't worthy of death because she didn't want that. She wanted to stay for her husband. It says, for as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. All right. So if you sleep with another man's woman, really you're trying to kill that man. You have hate towards that man. You see? It says, for he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. You see? So that's why she didn't commit sin worthy of death. You see? Because she was overpowered by the man. It says, verse 28, and this is the most controversial one. All right. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, that means she has not, that word there should be bathwala. All right. Bathwala, which is right there, bathwala, which means a virgin. All right. Which is of a woman, not knowing man, Otherwise, it would be Ailama, which means a young woman of marriageable age. It says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, all right, she's not promised to anybody, she's not with anybody, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, all right. So if a man takes a woman, all right, that is not with anybody, it says, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, which accumulates to about $500,000 or something like that. It says, or $500, I think. It says, and she shall be his wife. You see, so if a man takes a woman that has not been with anybody else, then that man had to pay money to the father because he took that woman. And then he had to marry that woman, which he already did, but he had to go through all the process, And that was the thing. That was the thing back then. These laws are set up not so you can go do them, but these laws were set up if something happens, all right? If these things happen, this is what the law says has to be done, all right? It says, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. You see? So even if you just lusted after her and she was single, she wasn't with anybody, and you took her, and then, after you paid the money to the father and everything, and you hated her, she was actually really annoying. You didn't like her voice. You didn't like how she did things. She was not too much of a clean or woman, or she wasn't a good wife. You couldn't put her away, all right? You couldn't put her away anymore because you already took her, you see? So you can't put her away all the days of your life. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt, you see? So that marrying your sister, marrying your mother, all that bullshit is off, you see? And that's why the scriptures were written, man. The scriptures were written for our understanding, all right? Ours, Lord willing, I'm part of that number, part of the elect, but it was written for the elect's sake, So from there, let me go back to, Deuteronomy 25 and verse 5 through 10, which is what we read on the other one. All right. If brethren dwell together, the thing about the brother taking the brother's woman, if he dies, you can't do it while he's still alive. All right. That's unlawful. That's a sin. We just read what happens if somebody takes, another man's woman. you know. So hitting the topic about this, I'm going to go to Matthew, which I made mention of it, but I'll bring it out. Matthew 22 and 23. It says, Matthew 22 and 23. It says, the same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, all right, which the resurrection is what? The reincarnation, all right? Resurrection, all right? Erection means to stand up, all right? Re means to do again, so to come back into the flesh, So with that regeneration also, that's right now, all right? Right now is the regeneration. So right now is the time to follow Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Like Yahweh Shai said, those that follow me in the regeneration are the ones that are going to inherit all things. It says, the same day came the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, all right, they're asking Yahweh Shai, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die, having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother. Now there were with us 7 brethren. And the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. All right, so one died after another, you see, and none of them could bear, plant seed for her to conceive, you see, unto the 7th. So they were trying to catch Yahweh Shai slipping. And it says, and last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her, you see. So the first brother died. She couldn't have a baby by him. So she went to the second. The second one died, couldn't have a baby by him for the first. And then she went to the third. She couldn't have a baby by him for the second or the first. Then went to the fourth, and on and on to the 7th. And then after the 7th, she died herself too, not bearing any seed for any of them. All right. So Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High. For in the resurrection neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of the Most High in heaven. All right. So when you're in heaven, when you are in heaven, all right, you can't marry. You're not up in heaven having sex, all right? You don't have sex in heaven, man, all right? That happens down here on earth, all right? In heaven, you're resting. That's why Job said, if I was stillborn, I would have been resting with wicked kings and people that, did wicked things, because all spirits go up to the Father, you see? Proving that there is no underground hell that, is ruled by some demon. Hell is here on earth, man. It says, for in the resurrection they neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of the Most High in heaven. So that also proves that this so-called devil that rebelled against the Most High, all right, that story is false, because the angels don't marry. The angels aren't given into marriage, all right? Those fallen angels, they don't exist. All right. It says, I am the God of Abraham. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have ye not read that which was spoken unto you by the Most High, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? Now, where does it say the God of the world? All right. Where does it say the God of Esau? Where does it say the God of Elam? You see? It's really talking about Jacob. That's really what it boils down to. All right. Granted, he is the Most High, the God of everything. All right. Because in the kingdom of heaven, it's going to go by order. He's going to be the God of everything. All right. But it's going to go through Yahweh Shai. It's going to go through the elect. It's going to go through Israel and on down to the heathen, the other nations. All right. It says, and when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. You see? So Yahweh Shai rebuked them, and he was like, you guys don't understand what the hell you're saying, man. So when it comes down to Vocab Malone, IUIC, and all these other camps saying, oh, Great Millstone teaches this, and they teach this. No, we're just teaching the scriptures, man, and we're telling you and we're letting you know how things were back then. All right? That's all it was. So yeah, you can have two wives. All right? Now, granted, right now is not the time. It's not the time to be going out there and having 10 wives and trying to create a whole, tribe of Issachar or a tribe of Judah, in a community and anything like that, man. All right. Right now is not the time. Right now, the only woman we should be concerned about is the scriptures, wisdom. All right. The wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that comes from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, you know. So going back to this, it says, today, many people have a lot of trouble truly grasping the matters of family name, all right, inheritance, household honor, and similar considerations involved in this scenario. You see, it is a civil law deeply connected with the concerns of Old Testament Israel in the promised land given to them, not a universal law for all peoples at all times. You see that? It was concerning Israel, man. It still is concerning Israel, and it always will be concerning Israel, because that's what the scripture says. All right? Even here, though, is there anything that offers a definition of marriage itself? The wife is still a woman. She has taken a new husband only because her former husband has died. Her former husband was a man. Her new husband is to be a close brother, so by definition, a man. You see? We might balk at requiring these people to marry one another, but the marriage is by definition still the same concept of marriage, a woman and a man coming together. All right? It is still one man and one woman entering a covenant bond and forming a household intended for life. The same reasoning should be applied to other Old Testament laws as well. They often require people to marry in situations that seem unusual to us, but when you ask what they mean by the word marry in any of these contexts, you come back to the very same definition of the word. All right. So the conclusion, all right, to end this up, it says the Bible does not, or the Bible does indeed hold to only one definition of marriage. And while that definition certainly allows a variety of customs and legal applications in different tech context, there are things it plainly does not allow. Things like a man marrying another man, all right, so a faggot, or a woman marrying another woman, so a dyke, and two men and three women all marrying each other in one big marriage, all right, that's polygamy, or a man marrying his goldfish, that's bestiality, or a woman marrying the color blue, all right, that's stupidity. All of these things are incoherent and outside of clear definition of marriage given by the Most High in Scripture, and a Christian simply cannot support such definition or redefinition of what the Most High instituted for all mankind from the very beginning. All right, so point blank period, man. Point blank period. The point has been established. All right. Marriage is when one man comes with one woman, all right, and they come together, all right? They come together. Now, the man can do that multiple times with women that are not betrothed and are not taken by other men, all right? That's why you go to the word adultery in adultery in the New Testament, all right? It says, let's go to Galatians 5:19. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, and uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do these things shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. All right, so let's go into that word adultery, which should be pornos. It's not, it's actually fornication, Salakia. Fornication is porneia. All right. illicit sexual intercourse, adultery, fornication, homosexuality, lesbianism, intercourse with animals, etc. You see? So those are not going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, you know? But you have porneia, which goes to the word, let me see if it's this one. Porneo, to prostitute one's body to the lust of another. All right. Now, when you go to, people watch porn. Porn goes back to the word pornos, which means what? Which means to see a woman being taken by another man. That's really what it boils down to, man. All right. Being an adulterer, watching lusting after a woman that is being taken by another man. You see? So people need to get outside of their feelings and start reading the scriptures, man. And if they don't understand the scripture and they can't get out of their feelings, they should mind their fucking business, man. And let the prophets do what the prophets are going to do. Let the apostles do what the apostles are going to do. And let the men of the Lord do what they're supposed to do. All right? Which is rebuke, reprove, and exhort. You see? So I hope that was edifying. With that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth to rule well. Shalom, Akim, and stay strong out there.